Hey, get this guy out of my face. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. What do you have to do about this guy's going to do? Get out of my face. Move on. That's right. Get out of my face. Learn some decorum.
I would go for him in a heartbeat.
Well, I'll tell you what I know. 2 months ago, Mr. Weaver gave me a call, asked me to go out to Mr. Ritter's site with him, and I met him out there. We went and seen it, and yeah, some of his yard was tore up. I don't know the logistics-wise of whether he was on an easement or not. But the part that really kind of disturbed me about the whole thing was he had some damage, and I just don't know whether he was at fault or the city was at fault, and I'm not blaming anyone one way or the other. But the thing that I did see when I was there, about 2 weeks later, Mr. Weaver approached me at City Hall and says, "Hey, what are we going to do? We're going to do anything for Mr. Ritter?" And I says, "Well, I'll talk to Brent about it, and we'll move forward and see what we can get done." In that time, Max told me that we better do something. This is consuming Mr. Ritter. He's went through a lot, and I agree with him. I think he did. And he told me also, he said, if we don't do this, one of us may get a bullet in the head. Now, when that was told to me, I found that very disturbing, and I took that serious. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, it's not going to be me. I can tell you that. And if it does happen, it's going to go to the papers, and I'm going to squeal. And I'm going to turn you all, make you look bad." Well, I took that pretty seriously. And in that time, I went to the mayor, I went to Mr. Trout, Mr. Lashbrook got involved, and I think some statements were took. And the one thing that I think, in talking to the chief, is he asked me if Mr. Ritter was capable of this, and I told him no. I said I didn't think so. I thought it was just Max being Max, and I think Mr. Ritter got put in a poor place because of this. And that's one reason I'm supportive of this, because I think the statements that were made. From what I've heard, Mr. Weaver then said that after talking to the chief, that Mr. Ritter didn't say it, and he was just saying it. You know, I take it pretty seriously. We all see all the different things that happen throughout the United States, different people doing different things, and every one of us up here has family, every one of us up here has kids. As a result of this, I don't know if people in the audience or on TV notice, but we've had extra police officers on hand. I take this very seriously, and I just, I'm upset. I think Mr. Weaver had some poor decision making when he made them statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Who else? So,
I happened to stop into City Hall shortly after those encounters as well, and Mr. Weaver was in there, and Mr. Trout was standing there, and Mr. Weaver, Mr. Trout, myself, and all of a sudden, Max was like, we got to make this payment to Mr. Ritter, or, you know, or somebody's going to get a bullet in the head. Was that not what was said, Mr. Trout? Yes. And that's exactly right. I am worried about our safety. Their safety in our schools that Max 2 weeks ago said he wasn't worried about. You know, safety in our school buses, everything like that. The only cameras, you know, we talked about school cameras and stuff like that. Mr. Weaver was totally.
Point of order, Mayor. Again, what's this got to do with school and cameras?
The only camera that Mr. Weaver's worried about is the one that's in front of the
election year, folks, and I tell you what.
Mr. Weaver.
Why don't you have Mr. Ritter come to the microphone, Mr. Ritter, and tell us on the mic.
I do have to know for a fact.
Cease and assist, Mr. Weaver.
You're all psychologists now. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Ms. Solberg, please continue.
You want to have a conversation in the chief's office tomorrow? Bring Mr. Ritter in and we'll finish that conversation. If I can't think out loud with what I know with my colleagues, well then that's a problem too.
Mr. Weaver.
But you're all professional psychologists. I appreciate that.
Mr. Weaver, I'm going to give you this warning right now.
We're doing the right thing by paying Mr. Ritter his damages.
Mr. Weaver,
What are you gonna do?
I'm calling you to order.
Yeah?
Yes.
And what?
Ms. Solberg is going to continue her time.
The request in here for city council action was for $500 payment to Mr. Ritter. Mr. Weaver brought it to the table for a $1,000 payment. Not quite sure what happened between the 500 and 1,000. But I guess I'd like to almost take this one step further and say, well, if I just saw Mr. Ritter's estimate a little bit ago, and it was like for $1,700. So I'm not quite sure why half of that is $1,000. You know, where I went to school, it would be more, you know, like $850 or something like that. But anyway, maybe we should take this one step further and say, as long as he provides us $2,000 in receipts, then we'll give him the $1,000. I mean, if we're wanting to give him half of this and pay it out of our taxpayer dollars, he can provide us the receipts, and then we'll reimburse him half. Thank you.
Ms. Solberg. Anybody else? All right, got a motion for $1,000.
I have a response.
Sure. Mr. Hickey.
I got one more thing I want to add to this, and it even gets better. When I was there at Mr. Ritter's place, Max told Mr. Ritter, he said, I want one thing from you if I give you this $1,000. Mr. Ritter says, what's that? And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ritter. He says, I want a political yard sign in that front yard of yours on Sarah Road Way come November. And you know what? It's not right. I question your motivation on helping Mr. Ritter on this issue. It's supposed to be about the citizens, but I don't think it's been that way. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I get your thinking, Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
I really do.
Mr. Weaver, are you intending to respond?
Well, that was clearly a joke because Mr. Ritter had, is it Mr. Ritter? You got 7 or 8 yard signs laying in
Half a
there.
dozen signs in the last 20 years, and they're still out there.
Yeah, he had all kinds of yard signs in the yard. He go out, I want a yard sign in my yard. It was clearly a joke. But you know what, Travis, we're all seeing what you really are and who you're working hard for. You know what, why don't you leave that stuff off the council table and out of the citizens' business? If you can't, as much as you hang out at the bars and drink and joke, don't you know the difference between a joke and somebody that's making a threat? Now, you're accusing me of blackmailing Mr. Ritter. Did you take it as a blackmail, Mr. Ritter?
I didn't think anything about
You
it.
didn't think anything about it. How do you like that, Travis? Now, putting words in Mr. Ritter's mouth and mine, you're an amateur psychologist, and also what, you're his son? There's something wrong here with what's going on here between the two of you. And I never said anything about giving 50% or whatever. And if you want to have a meeting at the police department tomorrow with Mr. Ritter, I'll finish your statements for you tonight, and I'll expect you to make an apology to me and the community and Mr. Ritter for bringing up what you brought up tonight. You know what? You should worry about taking care of your own ward, Travis. That's in your ward. I had to call you. That's the bigger issue. That's in Janet Solberg and yours ward. I had to call you to get involved. I appreciate that, Travis. I see what you're doing. It's an election year.
Mayor, could I make a point of order?
You concluded, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Marshall.
Well, it's always been policy at the city council table to refrain from personal attacks and to stop the personal attacks. And I've witnessed 3 people make personal attacks, and I think it should have been stopped at the start. Thank you, Mayor.
I appreciate your comments. I personally do not think they were really personal attacks or representation of the events that they saw. So, anybody else?
Motion to extend debate.
Is there a second?
Second.
I would say
Second. We got to vote. I'll let the clerk call the roll on this. We have a motion, second to extend debate.
Hickey?
yes.
Solberg?
Yes.
Marsters?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Tornquist? Yes. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry if you feel it was a personal attack, Mr. Marsters. I would take a bullet to the head as a personal attack any day, I guess.
Mr. Marsters.
I'm saying facts that have happened pertaining to Mr. Ritter and the issue.
Quiet in the gallery.
And these were comments that were made. I haven't brought up more that was said because I do have more, but when it was said, and it wasn't said or not, Mr. Ritter.
I never said nothing like that.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, go.
The yard sign, was that not said
What
or
about the
not?
yard signs? I had a yard sign up for you a couple years ago.
I know.
This is all political. Please don't ask. Everyone called order. Please don't ask anybody in the gallery.
So, but anyway, I'm sorry. I took it serious, and if you can't handle it, you shouldn't have said it. And I found it very inappropriate when you said it, and I think everybody else here should take it serious and found it inappropriate as well. If he did say it and he didn't have that intention, why would you even say it in the first place?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Mr. Nelson.
Well, I think the lesson here is this. When you get a call or meet with a fellow council member, be careful what you say. It's unfortunate that we can't say things one-on-one without being repeated, even if it's joking or not joking. What went on tonight is unbelievable, and I assume Councilman Weaver was joking. He jokes like we all do. I've made statements of that nature in a joking manner, and I hope that we just stop this, bringing what so-and-so said privately or on the telephone to me. That isn't what we're here for. We're here to do the citizens' business, aren't we? We didn't do a very good job on this last agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Nobody else have one? Ms. Solberg.
I am going to agree with Mr. Hickey on this. First off, I want to mention that I did happen to drive by Mr. Ritter's house because I was parked across the street and observed Mr. Ritter visiting with Mr. Hickey and Mr. Weaver, and Travis's son happened to be there as well. And comments like this just really hit hard. You know, it comes at you. It could hit your family and innocent bystanders. Do these people at Columbine or anywhere else, did they want to take this seriously? Absolutely. This is not a joke. Sorry, folks, there's no joke here. This is serious stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solberg. Anyone else have here? All right, we got a motion and a second. I believe that is on $1,000, correct?
Correct.
Clerk call roll. By the gallery, please.
Yes.
Marsters,
Yes.
Tornquist,
Yes.
Solberg,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Hickey.
Yes.